Welcome back to Dungeon Master's Corner. Today, we take a closer look at the things a creative player can do with a little lore and too many reruns of MacGyver in their memories.
Welcome to another DM Corner. I'm Nicole.
I'm Brian.
And today, we're going to talk about our Wildmount campaign a little bit. I don't think we've talked a little bit about Bevan. We haven't talked much about your character, have we?
Not a ton. We may have brought up my old character, Asher, a few times.
Yeah, Asher
got replaced after realizing we had a very unbalanced party.
And narratively, we found a good out for Asher. It's not that he's out forever. There's a possibility if you ever want to bring him back, he can come back.
That is true. He is busy playing domestic. So Asher was a warlock Aasimar of the Undying, and Aasimar, the most beautiful creatures in the world. They're like humans, but more celestial, and he thought that gnomes were the pinnacle of sexiness. Just absolute sexiness.
So naturally, when their adventures took them to Hupperduke, a big old city in Wildmount, where there's a good number of gnomes, and he met this very beautiful one.
Oh, Rissa.
Rissa, Tinkertop.
Oh god, the joke just came to my head. Rissa, tinker top off. That's probably gonna cut.
That's good though. That's a good one. They fell in love. They spent some time together, and she ended up with child. So we gently wrote Asher out to bring in Architar Tecton.
So, for those of you not familiar, Wildmount takes place in the Critical Role universe of Exandria. And this was around the time, I created Architar around the time that Campaign 2 was kind of wrapping up.
Mm-hmm.
We found out there were these time bubbles in...
Aeor.
Well, it wasn't just in Aeor, It was, what's it called? Isocross.
Isocross, yeah.
There were these time bubbles in Isocross where Aeor had crashed. And there were still people in them. Like, the players in Critical Role still saw people in them. So I thought, well, what would it be like if someone got out? And so Architar was born. Now, Architar is a 15-year-old architecture student who got out, put together some old automatons and armor, and is an artificer trying to make his way through the world. He doesn't speak Common. He speaks Aeorian, Elvish, and Dwarvish. He doesn't understand how people function in this world. He doesn't really have these massive emotions that he's aware of. When he gets angry, people get freaked out, but he doesn't ever think he feels anger or affection or anything like that. He does, but he refuses to admit it. And he was quickly, and I should have seen it coming. I did not. He was quickly termed Archie by the others because Architar was just too hard.
So he's just Archie.
Just Archie.
A very brilliant, emotionally...
Unstable?
I was gonna say neutral.
I think unstable's more accurate.
Yeah, that's probably more... I mean, you play him, so you would know how unstable he really is. So he just started traveling with the group, taking Asher's place gently while he went to go play domestic, and do the right upstanding thing.
Spend time with a sexy gnome, the right upstanding thing.
Yeah, But this is where we get into you being you.
Yeah. So there's a couple things with me as a player that you may have noticed. I like to get creative with the rules, and in fact, I sometimes ask if rules can be not broken, but tweaked. For instance,
flexed.
I have Archie's notebook here, which our dear friend Matt gave me, and oh, it's leather and it smells so good. It's full of ideas of things Archie wants to do, both physically and like tactically.
Long term.
Long term. Well, I was thinking like I'm not a huge fan of the. It's not invocations for an artificer, but it's essentially invocations for artificers.
The infusions.
The infusions. I'm not a huge fan of some of the infusions. I feel they're very limited. And honestly, if I were to do the things that made the most sense for Archie, I would have ended up with like a 30 armor class by the time we hit level 10, which is no fun for the DM and it's no fun for me. So I started building my own infusions and things like that, trying to tweak it to work with the world.
Which is absolutely fair.
I always get your approval. Run them by you.
Mm-hmm.
Archie does not respect religion, does not respect belief. I mean, his entire culture was destroyed by the gods over a pissing contest that he had no part in, I would like to point out. 15-year-old architect, so I think he's rightful to be a little angsty. He has found creative ways of utilizing things that would normally be seen as sacrilege.
You're talking about the Luxon, I believe.
I believe I'm talking about the Luxon, yes. So the Luxon, if you are consecuted, when you die and are close enough to one, your soul gets sucked into it and gets redistributed into the world and you are reincarnated.
Mm-hmm.
I wish to take one of these apart because they are, at their core, mechanical and magical in nature. That's right up my alley. And I want to infuse it with my homunculus. That is one goal of Archie's right now.
I didn't know your homunculus was involved in the infusion.
Oh, I didn't tell you that?
No, that's new.
Well, how else am I going to get around if my... Like, the Ring of Mind Shielding lets you do something very similar, but you're stuck in a ring. Imagine if I could walk around in a flying mechanical ermine. While my body is piloted in a robot suit. I think I just broke my DM during recording. I'm not sure if that was a laugh or a sob.
A little bit of both. A little bit of both. Because I was just picturing it. And I can picture it.
Yep. Yep.
Oh, dear.
So that's one of Archie's smaller ambitions.
You know, taking apart a prime artifact of one of the entities of creation to infuse in a homunculus is a small plan.
Small plan. Small plan.
Air quotes.
Archie has... That's a small ambition, to be fair. A small plan was... Remember when we got that, like, fishing wire or razor wire from something?
Yeah, I believe so.
We got some small, thin metal wire.
Inconsequential.
It's something I just bought at a store. Hey, do they have metal wire?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean...
Fantastic!
What's wrong with that?
I string it across a hallway, a stairwell, actually, at 2 levels. One at foot level, one at neck level. And
this was the temple to the Spider Queen. I remember this.
Yep. Again, Archie does not respect religion. And he does not respect people who follow evil gods, especially ones who capture his quasi-girlfriend. Because I know what she is! I know what you're doing!
I'm giving Archie a emotional tie to the world, whether he likes it or not. I mean, at the moment, she is just a friend, who then I can take that bond and abuse.
Yep, that sounds about right. People call me the monster. But
What? This innocent little drow girl, it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. Well, I knew I'd never be able to sneak up those stairs. So instead I made a lot of noise at the bottom of the stairs. So the first guy runs down the stairs, trips on the wire, and then falls full body weight neck onto the second wire. So the second guy comes running and sees his nigh decapitated friend and is looking right at that when his foot hits the same wire on the ground level. He didn't see the guy trip, he just saw him there bleeding. So that guy falls to the ground and we beat the crap out of him with 2 pieces of metal wire. I took out 2 guards.
I am always proud and horrified with whatever he does.
Just the innocuous questions. It's always the innocuous questions. What's really fun is sometimes I have no plan for this. I just want stuff because you can MacGyver just about anything in certain situations. If you have something, you're better off than if you don't.
I mean, that's not wrong. And you have just been collecting stuff.
I've just been collecting stuff. Sometimes I have a general idea. When I got that wire, that was the general idea of what I wanted to do. And when I bought the soap that I used to hide fish hooks by rubbing the soap on them to keep them from shining, I hung them from the ceiling so that people would run into them and catch on the fish hooks. Not a lot of damage, but imagine walking face first into a fish hook.
It startles you at the very least.
It slows you down at the worst. Or takes out an eye, I mean, who knows. But the idea is, take something small and innocuous and be creative.
And the best part is, because the items are small and innocuous, your DM will most likely say, yeah, of course you can find that. That's reasonable. That's a reasonable thing you can find. And then you completely blindside them with something insane and brilliant but effective.
Yep. Which I wanted to give like the 2 sides of Archie here. The small ambition of being able to house his soul in his homunculus should the worst happen. And small innocuous items that allow him to completely devastate guards. But Archie does have a major goal in mind currently.
And what is that goal? Since you are plotting, always plotting.
Archie knows that this is going to take most of his life, and that's why getting the Luxon is so important, because he needs probably more than 1 lifetime to complete it. Aeor needs to be rebuilt. It needs to be restored. But Archie doesn't want it to be filled with a bunch of people that don't know or appreciate Aeorian history or technology, or people who would abuse it, like the Cerberus Assembly, who are hunting him currently, or would be if they know who he is.
This is true, they don't know you yet.
They don't know me yet. We keep killing the ones we run into. Archie wants Aeor back, the true Aeor. And he knows that there are other people in those time bubbles. His first plan was learn necromancy, summon their souls into like a magic jar or something, and then put them in new bodies. Maybe mechanical bodies, build a bunch of Warforge and put the souls in there. That might work. But then he met Shazina and Sinethe, priestesses of the Luxon. If he can build his own Luxons and pop those time bubbles after consecuting the people within them, or not even needing to consecute them, but draw their souls in, he can essentially vacuum up every Aeorian that would have died that day, that was instead trapped. Release their souls into the world, and then bring back the true Aeorians, the minds that were lost. Rebuild his city, rebuild his people, rebuild his culture. And now you can see why the homunculus soul trap is the small ambition.
It's always just great to see your mind work.
Archie is plotting.
Archie is always plotting. Well, I think that wraps up this DM's Corner. I have been Nicole.
I have been Devious.
Thank you for joining us, and bye!
Bye!
Take it away, outro guy.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Dungeon Master's Corner. If you'd like to support us, please visit our Patreon at patreon.com/Reliably Chaotic to help fund the Aeorian Restoration Project. Seriously, we need a ton of cash for this one, people. You can also drop us a line on Twitter at Reliably Chaotic. We'd love to hear from you.